Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. We'll chant Om once together. Synchronize the chanting of Om with your exhalation. Breathe in. Sahana vavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavaditamastu ma vitvishavahay. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Gently open your eyes. We'll chant from verses 68 to 72 of chapter 2. Tasmadhyasya mahabaho,
Tasmadhyasya mahabaho,
Nigrihitani sarvashah,
Nigrihitani sarvashah,
Indriyani-indriyarthebhyah,
Indriyani-indriyarthebhyah,
Tasya prajna pratisthita,
Tasya prajna pratisthita,
Ya nisha sarvabhutanam,
Ya nisha sarvabhutanam,
Tasyam jagati sanyami,
Tasyam jagarti sanyami,
Yasyam jagrati bhutani,
Yasyam jagrati bhutani,
Sa nisha pashyato muneः,
Sa nisha pashyato muneः,
Apuryamānamachala pratishtham,
Apuryamānamachala pratishtham,
Samudramāpah pravishanti yadvat,
Samudramāpah pravishanti yadvat,
Tadvat kāmayam pravishanti sarve,
Tadvat kāmayam pravishanti sarve,
Sashantimāpnoti na kāmakāmi,
Sashantimāpnoti na kāmakāmi,
Vihāya kāmānyas sarvān,
Vihāya kāmānyas sarvān,
Pumāmscharati nisprihah,
Pumāmscharati nisprihah,
Nirmamo nirahankārah,
Nirmamo nirahankārah,
Sashantimadhigacchati,
Sashantimadhigacchati,
Esha brahmi sthiti partha,
Esha brahmi sthitih partha,
nainam prapya vimuhyati
Nainam prapya vimuhyati
stitva syamantakaalepi
Stitva syamantakaalepi
brahma nirvana mrichati.
Brahma nirvana mrichati.
Hari Om, and a very good day to all of you. So we are doing verse number 69, wherein he says, Ya nisha sarvabhutanam tasyam jagarti sanyami. In that which is night for all beings, the self-controlled one is awake. So as I explained to you last week, generally the word Jagrat is used to mean the waking state of consciousness. But here in the first line, he is using the word to mean that which is beyond the waking state of consciousness. So that is why we are using the word awake. So Jagr means awakening in this context. That will help you to differentiate between the waking state and that which is beyond it. So you're going through the three states of consciousness: the deep sleep state of consciousness, the dream state of consciousness, and the waking state of consciousness. So when you are a deep sleeper, the Sushupti Avastha, as it is called in Sanskrit, as a deep sleeper, you experience nothingness. You gently say, when you don't have any dreams or anything, I had a very sound sleep, you say. That expression itself has no meaning. It is actually soundless sleep. You had absolutely no dreams, nothing. Just a state of emptiness. That state is called Sushupti Avastha, deep sleep. As you progress in spirituality, when your issues in the waking state start getting resolved through your consistent sadhana, then the quality of your sleep will also improve. You will start experiencing the Sushupti Avastha. Today, the experience of deep sleep is very less, because the moment you close your eyes and go off to sleep, all the unresolved issues of the mind start projecting various dreams, Every now and then you do slip into deep sleep, and again you come back to the dream. So why there are so many dreams? Because so many unresolved issues are there. So as a deep sleeper, you experience the Sushupti Avastha, the deep sleep state of consciousness. Now a deep sleeper cannot conceive or understand the dream state of consciousness or the waking state of consciousness. The deep sleeper's experience is confined to deep sleep, nothing more. This is what you need to first understand. Then when you go through a dream experience, you become the dreamer. And the dreamer may be completely different from the waker. Because as a waker you may be a rich person, in the dream you may be a poor person, or vice versa. In the waking state of consciousness you may be tall, in the dream state of consciousness you may be a short person. The name may be different, the very face may be different, everything may be different, personality. So a dreamer, as a dreamer, you experience the swapna avastha. Swapna avastha means the dream state of consciousness. Now, what is interesting is, a dreamer can understand and experience deep sleep. In the dream, sometimes you go to sleep, you go in, you have a very deep sleep, and then you wake up within the dream itself, you come back to the dream. Many people have experienced this. So as a dreamer, you can conceive, you can experience the deep sleep state of consciousness. You can also experience the dream state of consciousness. But as a dreamer, you cannot conceive the waking state of consciousness. You cannot experience the waking world. However much you try, as long as you are a dreamer, you cannot experience the waker. Why is that? Because the dreamer is an integral part of the dream. The dreamer cannot separate himself or herself from the dream and experience that which is beyond the dream world. So as a deep sleeper, you experience the deep sleep state of consciousness. As a dreamer, you experience the dream state of consciousness. You are also capable of understanding and experiencing the deep sleep state. Now, as a waker, right now, you're a waker. As a waker, you are experiencing the waking world, just as yesterday night when you went off to sleep as a dreamer, you experienced the dream world. Now you're experiencing the waking world. As a waker, you can understand, you can conceive, understand and experience the deep sleep state of consciousness. You can understand the dream state of consciousness. These are all within your purview of understanding. But you cannot conceive or understand that which is beyond the waking state. Your thinking, your feeling, everything is restricted to the waking state of consciousness. So just as the dreamer cannot experience the waker cannot experience that which is beyond the waking state, the state of turiya. So whatever you understand, whatever you feel, everything is confined to the waking state. Remember that. And God is that supreme power, that infinite power which is beyond the waking state of consciousness. So there your understanding, your feeling, all these things will not work. You just as if you want to experience the waking state of consciousness, you need to drop the dreamer completely and become the waker. See, the dreamer cannot touch the waker with the dream hands, He cannot see the waker with the dream eyes. He cannot hear the waker with the dream ears. Because with the dream sense organs, he cannot perceive the waker. With the dream emotions, as a dreamer, he cannot feel the waker. With the dream thoughts, he cannot think about the waker. Whatever he thinks will be very much limited only. Then how can the dreamer experience the waker? When he dissolves himself and becomes the waker, then the waker experiences himself. When it comes to this only, it's the words fall short, So similarly, when they say drop all your ego, they mean drop the very concept that you are the waker. You will have to drop everything pertaining to the waking state, and that is when the enlightenment or awakening happens. And when the awakening happens fully, who experiences God? See, with the waking state of, with the waker's eyes, he cannot see God. Whatever you see is again conditioned by the waking state. So with your eyes you cannot see God. With your ears you cannot hear God. With your sense organs you cannot perceive God, because all these are the equipments which you have as a waker. With your feelings you cannot feel God. With your intellect you cannot think about God. Whatever you think and conceive as God is very, very limited. Then how can you experience God? How can you know God? The only way is to become God. Just as a dreamer experiences the waker when he becomes the waker, similarly you will experience God when you become God. And when it is said you will become God, they are not talking about this limited personality. When they say Tattvamasi, that thou art, that infinite you are, Aham Brahmasmi, I am that supreme Brahman, they are not meaning this body, this limited personality, because this limited personality is the waker. It is like right now you will say, I am the waker. So when you, supposing you have the opportunity or the way by which you can re-enter the same dream which you experienced when you slept yesterday, supposing you re-enter the dream and then you call the people in the dream world, now you are the waker, and you tell them, I am the waker. Not only am I the waker, you are all also wakers. You are not this dreamer as you are thinking yourself to be. Now that person in the dream, first he will get disturbed, he will not understand what you're saying, and then slowly with faith, when he listens to you for a while, then he will say, oh, now I understand. Okay, I am the waker. But there is a big difference between a dreamer saying I am the waker and actually as a waker when you say I am the waker. That is just lip service, something which he has got inspired with. He is repeating your words, but he has not experienced anything. So when you say I am the waker, you are not talking about the the dreamer at all. It is a totally different state of consciousness. Similarly, friends, when these great masters say, Tat Tvam Asi, that you are, Aham Brahmasmi, I am that Supreme Brahman, they are talking about the fourth state of consciousness, the Turiya, which is completely different from the waking state of consciousness. So if you just mechanically repeat those lines as a waker, you will only develop an ego. You know, there are many people who go about saying, I am God. Ravana also said that in the scriptures, if you see. Ravana kept saying, Aham Brahmasmi, I am that Supreme God. Now, what is the difference between Ravana saying, I am God, and an enlightened person saying, I am God? Two totally different statements. Even though externally the statements are the same, the very the state from which the statements are being made are totally different. So when Ravana said, I am God, he meant this physical body, the mind and the intellect. That is, as you know, as an individual, he said, I am God. That is an ego boost. So many people say, you know, even if you see in the world, there are people with limited concepts. They think they know everything, they have experienced everything. So some people say, I have seen God. Whatever you have seen is not God. It is a part of the waking state only. A small manifestation or a partial manifestation of that infinite. That is why in one of the Upanishads, he says, Tadeva Brahmatvam Viddhi Nedam Yadidam Upasate. It is that alone is Brahman, that alone is whatever. He tries to take the student beyond all the conditioning, and he indicates the fourth state, and then he says that alone is Brahman, that is God. Nedam Yadidam Upasate means not whatever you are worshipping here. So some people say, I have seen God. Some people say, I heard God. I have perceived God, you know. And then they develop an ego over it. I have seen God, whereas you have not seen God. So I am here to guide you. It's an ego boost. Some people say, oh, I just feel God. That also gives an ego boost. I am able to feel, but you are not able to feel. Some people say, no, I've read all the scriptures and now I've understood God. To which he says, Tadeva Brahmatvam Viddhi. No, that alone has Brahman, the fourth state, not whatever you're experiencing here, not what you're worshipping here. You know, it's a very, very powerful statement which that master makes, not in one verse. Several verses continuously he goes on saying, Tadeva Brahmatvam Viddhi Nedam Yadidam Upasate, not what you are worshipping. Because anything which you bring in, you're bringing in as a waker. Whether it is your perception or whether it is your emotion or whether it is your thoughts. So the master is warning, yes, you may have very fine experiences in the spiritual path. Sometimes you may, using your senses, that is, as your senses become more refined, you will start getting divine experiences. Similarly, divine feelings, divine thoughts. But the master warns there and says, don't conclude and stop your search, because that is not the fourth state. That is a small aspect of the infinite which you are experiencing. See, these equipments, the body, the emotions and thoughts, are finite. So, how can the finite experience the infinite? It is not possible. It is like, you have a container and you go and try to measure the ocean with the container. Your container can contain only a certain amount of the ocean. So with that container, if you measure the ocean, whatever you experience, that small portion of water as ocean, will be very, very limited. The ocean is vast, limitless, way, way beyond the purview of that small container which you're having. So God, or that supreme state, is way, way beyond whatever you are perceiving, whatever you can feel, whatever you can think. In one of the later chapters, he will be giving this concept, he'll be expanding this tremendously. He'll be saying Kshara, Akshara and Uttama Purusha. Kshara means that which is perishable, whatever you can see. And then Akshara means imperishable, that power which is beyond the manifested world, which you may call as God. But he says that is also very limited, because when you say Akshara, you are confining that infinite with respect to the finite. You are confining you're confining the God principle to the manifested world, and you say that which supports the world, the imperishable aspect of the world is God. It is still a limited concept. Then he says Kshara, Akshara, Uttama Purusha means that which is beyond the perishable and that which is beyond the imperishable which you have conceived. That which is unknowable. The purpose of your life is to go on expanding your consciousness till you experience that fourth state. And when I say you experiencing the fourth state, again you will confine it to the waker. You will think, oh, I as an individual will experience the fourth state. No. When you dissolve completely, when your ego dissolves, that is when you can get enlightened. That is the state of yoga. Yoga means yuj, union, complete union with the infinite. As long as that I is conditioned, it cannot experience the fourth state. When the I becomes completely deconditioned, unconditioned. Today, the I is conditioned by the body, by the emotions and thoughts. But even this is the waking state. It is actually conditioned by the waker. It's conditioned by the dream, a dreamer. There is the dream state of consciousness and the sushupti avastha, deep sleep state of consciousness. So when you become completely unconditioned, then you experience the turiya, the fourth state, which is what this great person has experienced. Having experienced the fourth state, these great masters, they are re-entering the dream, as it were. It's the whole thing is so amazing. Actually, the more you start penetrating into this, you will become very, very quiet when it comes to spiritual discussions and spiritual matters, because you will begin to understand that whatever is being told is not true spirituality. And what is true spirituality cannot be expressed in words. A guru, he may preach, that is, he may give knowledge. Sometimes he may sing bhajans and inspire people. Sometimes he may do karma yoga and inspire people to act. All these things he may do only as a preparation for that final experience. Out of thousands of people who go to a guru, probably a handful stay till the end to experience that turiya state. Because in the spiritual path, at every step you have different experiences, what we call as spiritual experiences. And usually most of the students, they are happy with a limited experience and they stop the search. And a true master is like a wind. He is unattached. He goes on inspiring people. It's like a wind breeze just flowing, and those buds which are ready, they bloom. So those people who are really ready can catch the full frequency of a master, one who has experienced the fourth state. So that is why it is said in the scriptures that always be very humble, never allow the ego of knowledge, the ego of achievement to build within you. Because the moment that happens, then you will no longer receive the higher grace from the master. Your search will stop. See, it is very easy to be a believer or a non-believer, but it's very difficult to be a seeker. Why is he putting these things in a very mysterious way? Because he wants you to seek. See, when it comes to spirituality, God, some people say, I believe in God. They are called the theists. Either a person is a theist or he is an atheist. So when a person says, I believe in God, thereafter he stops his quest. He stops that seeking. Usually the belief about God comes from external sources. Whatever you are told right from your young age, you just believe that. You're born in a particular family or a community which has a particular kind of belief, then you get conditioned by that belief. And that belief stops you from seeking. So either you're a theist or you are an atheist. Some people, they say, I don't believe in God. That is also a statement which has no meaning, because just because you have not experienced something, if you say I don't believe in it, that is not a scientific approach. There are so many things which we have not experienced. Does it mean that those things don't exist? So you will have to be in the center, neither fall into this extreme, which is believing something which you have not experienced and then stopping the search. There you moved away from the center, you are not a seeker, or you go to this extreme, I don't believe in God. There also you stop your seeking, you have come to a conclusion without an experience. So if you truly want to become spiritual, you should neither be a believer nor should you be a non-believer. You should be a seeker. You should be in the middle. That quest should be there. That is what in Sanskrit is called mumukshatva. Mumukshatva refers to that seeking, that intense desire to liberate oneself, that intense desire to experience the fourth state. Till you experience the fourth state, you should not stop your journey. You should not stop your sadhana. So it's easy to be a believer or non-believer. Usually believers of God are considered spiritual. And non-believers are considered non-spiritual. But if you understand what true spirituality is, you will get what I'm trying to convey here. That is, it is not a question of whether you believe something or not believe something, because both are conditionings only. In both the cases you become close-minded, you stop your quest. The question is, are you searching? Are you seeking? So a true master looks for a seeker. Generally, either a believer or a non-believer comes to a master. So if a person is a believer of God, the master says the opposite to bring him back to the center. If a person is a non-believer of God, he again says the opposite to bring him back to the center, because his goal is to make that person first a seeker. Only then the path can be shown. This happened in Buddha's life also. When Buddha was walking, once a young man came to Buddha and asked him, is there God? Buddha said yes. And then after a few days, another man came to Buddha and asked him the same question, is there God? Buddha said, no, there is no God. The students were very confused. What is our master saying one thing at one time, And then in another context, when some person came and asked Buddha, is there God? Buddha said, I don't know. He just kept quiet. I don't know. So then one of his students asked him, sir, we have been noticing, same question was asked, 3 different answers you have given. Can you explain? Then Buddha smiled and explained. The first person who came and asked me, he was an atheist. He was a non-believer of God. So when he asked me, is there God? I said yes. Then he will start thinking. The second person, when he came and asked me, is there God? That person was a theist. He was a believer of God. Without experiencing God, he had already gotten into a belief, and that belief was not allowing him to expand his consciousness. So to him I told him there is no God. So he will start thinking. But the third person who came and asked me, he really didn't have a quest, He was just simply asking without a deep quest. So to him I said, I don't know, because my answer does not make any difference to him. Even though he is asking, he is not really asking, he is just asking very casually. So no point in wasting time with him. So I said, I don't know. So this is how a master functions. Depending on what is the level of the student, depending on which extreme the student has gone, the master will give that aspect of the wisdom and try to pull the student back to the center. It is not what the master says that matters. It is where he is trying to pull the student. That is the key there. If you get an opportunity to move with the Guru, you will experience this. Because he'll say one thing today and after a while he'll tell you exactly the opposite. Depending on which extreme you are in, You should not get confused, because his goal is to keep you in the center so that you are a seeker, not a believer or a non-believer. That question itself is absurd. Do you believe in God? When people ask, what does it matter whether you believe in God or you do not believe in God? It's all a part of the waking state of consciousness only. That is why in Sanskrit there is this word called Shraddha. Shraddha means not a belief, not merely a belief. It means faith and that capacity to consistently put an effort till you achieve the goal. That is called Shraddha. So in the scriptures it is said that a person who has Shraddha will be able to get enlightened. So somewhere down the line, when you move to one of these two extremes, you will lose the Shraddha, the capacity to put in your efforts consistently. You can put in effort consistently only if you are seeking. So here, why is he using the word Jagra to mean the fourth state, the state of Turiya? He could have directly said Turiya, no? Because if he had directly said Turiya, you would have concluded. You will not seek any further. So he is deliberately saying Jagra because there is a logic behind it. If you take the deep sleep state of consciousness, the consciousness is minimum. It is a state of nothingness. When it comes to the dream state, the consciousness has expanded a little more. As a dreamer, the dreamer is aware of a few things, and sometimes dreams are very intense. So the consciousness is expanded more. When it comes to the waking state, the consciousness is expanded much more. So in the deep sleep state, the consciousness is almost nil. In the dream state, it is partial. The waking state, it is more. He is now stretching this. On the same lines, if you now take the fourth state, the state of Turiya, he says it is Jagra, means infinite consciousness, infinite awakening, being awake infinite times. If you can conceive that, at least this will help you to get a hang of what he's trying to say. So as you move from deep sleep to dream, your consciousness is expanding. Then dream to waking state, your consciousness is expanded further. Now he says if you can expand the consciousness to infinite, that is the fourth state. So he uses the word Jagra. The whole process is that of getting awakened, expanding your consciousness. The beauty is these verses are applicable both from the absolute level and from the relative level. That is why these verses are so important, because since it is applicable from the relative level, you can take those principles and you can take the sadhana tips and start practicing them. So what is this Jagri, the process of awakening? What happens when the process of awakening is triggered? From different levels we'll see that, from the physical level, from the emotional level, from the intellectual level, from the pranic level, then emotional level, intellectual level, and from the level of consciousness. Last week I did indicate the Jivatma, that is again one step below the fourth state when you consider yourself as a Jivatma. But we will bring it down further so that it will be useful for you in your sadhana. So the principle behind this whole thing is that Jagra, that is the process of awakening. So as you become more and more awakened, what happens to you? First, we will see at the physical level. He uses the word Nisha, that which is not known to people, but it is known to the self-controlled one, he says. So, at the physical level, everybody knows the speech and the actions. Everybody knows to speak, everybody knows to act. But what is that which is not known to everyone with respect to the physical body? That is the actions and speech. It is the consequences of the speech and action. Every time you say something, what is the consequence of that? That is called karma. See, karma means action. Karma also means reaction, the consequence. In the next chapter, Karma Yoga, we will be dealing with this in great depth, So whenever you say something, that is the action, and there is always a reaction, a consequence to that action. Whenever you act in the world, anything which you do has a rebound, has an effect. So everybody knows the action, everybody knows the words which they speak, but they know not the effect of the actions and speech. How your speech, your actions are constantly generating a certain energy field, and they attract the positive or negative events in your life. That is something which is unknown, the consequences of the actions. So as you progress spiritually, first at the physical level, you will begin to become aware of the consequences of your speech and actions at the physical level. It is not only the speech and actions, even perceptions also. You can take everything at the physical level. Your perceptions, the sense perceptions, then your actions and your speech. So everything which you are perceiving is known to everyone, but the consequences of that perception is not known. People don't have clarity. Actually, if you know the consequences of whatever you're doing, then you will pick up all the right things. If you know that this seed will become this, will give this fruit, then you will ensure that the seed is proper. A simple example is when you're reading a negative news. Now, what is the consequence of your reading it? How it goes into your system? How it colors your the deeper layers of your mind? What kind of energy that is creating within you? This is something which is not known to you. But for a spiritually awakened person, we are not talking of 100% awakened here. As you become more and more spiritual, you will start becoming aware of that. So when you become aware of that, the consequences of the perceptions, actions and speech at the physical level, then you will become very careful in choosing what you need to perceive. Automatically your speech will become very refined. You will start speaking positively because you know that positive speech will have positive consequences. Your actions will become positive. You will start doing good to yourself and good to others around you. Because you know that whenever I harm someone, whenever I do a negative action, ultimately the consequence of that negative action is going to come back to me. So what is dark to everyone, a spiritual person starts gaining that wisdom. It is known to that person, you know. So you gain immense clarity. All your actions, your speech, your perceptions, everything will become very refined. Actually, when you grow spiritually, that is when this awakening, the Jagra happens, the first thing that happens to you is at the physical level. A person who is very harsh, coarse or gross in his or her expressions has not grown spiritually. A spiritual person becomes very artistic. Even when you speak, it's not about merely the words which you use. That is one thing. That is also important. It is the tone which you're using when you're speaking that has a certain effect on the other person. That has a certain effect on your own deeper mind. So you will become very much aware whether your tone is affecting others in a negative way or positive way, whether your tone is affecting your own mind in a negative way or positive way. So when you become aware, that is, as your awakening increases, you will automatically start correcting yourself. You know, there are people who do this handwriting analysis, signature analysis, all these things. It is a very superficial way of doing it, but it is based on this principle only. What they are trying to say is, when you write, that is an expression, you know. Through that expression, you can study that person's personality. I think it's called graphology. That's science, you know. A spiritual person doesn't depend on handwriting. Everything which you say, the way your very presence is your expression only, physically, at the physical level. So a master, the moment he sees a person, he is able to understand that person in depth, because he sees from where are these expressions coming. That is why it is said, no point in trying to impress your guru, no point in trying to explain things to your guru, because he doesn't go merely by the expressions. I was reading an article, very, very interesting. A psychologist has written, because nowadays nobody writes. I mean, very few people write. It has all become typing. Even in the typing, he says, we can apply this science of graphology. For example, a person who is more emotional, he says they use those emojis, more, a smiling face, this, that, to express themselves. A person who is withdrawn, who cannot express, will just type like a telegraphic message, just points. Sometimes a person who is very clear can also express himself like that. So there are a lot of subtleties. The psychologist has analyzed it so beautifully. If you are a person who is craving for name and fame, who wants to stand out from others, from the crowd, that is a weakness, Then he says, you will type everything in capital letters. See, a person who goes on typing, here and there, the capitals in the English language is used in certain places. That is different. But if a person uses a lot of capital letters, let us say entire paragraph is of capital letters. Now what that psychologist is saying is, that person has that weakness. He wants to, push his weight around. He wants to stand separately from the crowd. The name and fame, that recognition weakness is there. Very, very interesting. So, as the technology has come, even though writing with a pen and all that is reduced, even in typing, the same psychological principles can be applied. This is what that psychologist has observed. So you should observe your own expressions. Are they gross or are they refined? What kind of perceptions are you going for? What kind of perceptions are you going for? Means what are you seeking? Then similarly, how are your actions? How are your expressions? Your body language, your speech. The best way to find out, in case you want to know, is to ask those who are close to you, your family members. How do you think what is the basic feeling which you get, in my presence? Of course, in order to ask your family members, you should be free of ego because your ego will prevent you from asking this. And if they give an honest opinion, you should consider that. As a seeker, you should consider that and examine whether that is true or not. It will give you a very deep insight. You can try it out as a sadhana. It's a very difficult sadhana, even though it is easily put. That is to ask the person who is closest to you, your spouse, or somebody who is closest to your partner, what is the kind of vibes which they get when you are around. You have to drop your ego and become a seeker. Only then you can do that. But the principle is this: as the awakening happens, first at the physical level, you will start becoming more refined. So what is nisha to others will start becoming known to you. That is, the consequences of your expressions will become known to you. That aspect of wisdom will be revealed to you. Number one. Number two, at the emotional level, what is not known to everyone is the deeper emotions. See, the external layer of emotions, the superficial layer of emotions is known to everyone, but the deeper emotions is not known. So at the emotional level, you will begin to become aware of what are the deeper emotions which are controlling your behavior. Many people have told me this when they do the Yoga Sankirtan sadhana. They say that suddenly some emotion comes out. They didn't even know that that emotion was existing within them. See, you may have an intense hatred towards someone deep within you, but at the conscious level, you may have forgotten that. And at the conscious level, you may be loving to that person. But there will always be a friction in that relationship. When you do the sadhana, what is there at the deeper level will come out. It may be related to some incident which happened in the past. Usually it's always related to some incidents of the past. So as the awakening happens within you, you will become very, very deep, because now you can see the bhavana, the deep motive within yourself. Not only within yourself, when you start gaining clarity about yourself, you will also begin to understand other people better. You will not go by what other people say, but you will be able to spot the bhavana behind those words. A master is one who sees what are the deep-rooted emotions first. Just because a student goes and say, "Oh master, now I bow down to you, I surrender to you," that doesn't mean the master will immediately accept that. He will see whether the bhavana of surrender is there deep within, or is there ego and he is covering it up with humility. Usually that happens. People who have a lot of ego, they will come and they will put on an act of humility. You should have that clarity, otherwise you cannot see through that. So what is night for all beings at the emotional level, that is the deeper emotions, in that the awakened one, the self-controlled one is awake, means he begins to know that. So this will happen to you as you do your sadhana. And before the emotion also, if you take the pranic level also, a normal person is only aware of the physical body. He or she is not aware of the pranic flow. But a spiritually evolved person, as you start evolving, you will begin to see the flow of prana, the cosmic energy within you. Actually, this year we are going to have the deeper course, the empowerment course, the Prana Tattva level 1. There I'm going to give that empowerment with which you can start experiencing the first layer of your pranic body. There are 2 levels in that. The first layer is what you need to master first. After that, we can go more deep, So that you become aware of, whereas a normal person is not aware of that. Then at the emotional level, the deeper emotions. At the thought level, the various beliefs and ideas and ideologies which are deep rooted within you, that becomes known to you, whereas others are completely ignorant of what is happening at the deep level of their intellect, the thoughts, You are conditioned by whatever ideas are put right from early childhood within you, by society, by others. See, when a baby is growing, before the baby even knows that he or she is a human being, thoughts are put. You are a Hindu, you are a Christian, you are a Buddhist, some ideas, various ideas. You are Tamilian, you are a Bihari, you are an American, you are an Indian. So various thoughts are put. So whatever thoughts you are having are actually not yours. They are those ideas which others have fed within you. So when you do the spiritual sadhana, you will come out of all these conditioning and you will start examining your own thoughts. It's a very powerful state. It's a very powerful sadhana. Because when you start examining your own thoughts, the deepest beliefs and ideas which you're having, then you are opening the doors of complete self-transformation. You are giving yourself an opportunity to come out of all the deep-rooted conditioning. So, right from physical level, the pranic level, then the emotional level, then the intellectual level, and when it comes to the spiritual level, as I was explaining last week, you will start seeing yourself as the Jivatma, the individual soul who is going through many, many births. Today it may be just a mere concept for you, but as you do your sadhana, the more and more powerful empowerment courses will be coming up with in the future, you will actually start experiencing yourself as a Jivatma, a long journey. This birth and death which you're talking about at the physical level, that is this lifetime, will mean nothing to you. It's your whole journey, births after births, you've been traveling. As I said, all the fear of death, everything will go away. Because why are you fearing death? Because you are thinking you're the body. You're limiting yourself to the body. Whenever you say, I fear death, you're afraid that you're going to drop this body. Even though you may not put it that way, I'm only explaining that. Something will happen to me. But when you begin to experience yourself as a Jivatma, as the individual soul, now death may happen to the body, but you are continuing to exist. So then where is the question of the fear of death? And when you overcome the fear of death, that is a base fear, then all other fears also will start disappearing. Because not only you are the Jivatma, your near and dear ones whom you are extremely attached to, they are also individual souls only, who have come in this form. And in next birth, they will come in a different form. That is why a great thinker said, your children are not born of you, they are born through you. It's a beautiful statement. The children have their journey and they've used you as a medium for expressing themselves, that's all, for being alive here. But they are not born of you, they are born through you. The moment you understand that, then you will drop your attachments which you have for your children, for others. Rather, instead of attachment, you will develop unconditional love. Okay, in this short journey we are all meeting, let me see what best I can do to help the other person. Not become so attached and create a block for the other person to progress in life. There is a big difference between attachment and unconditional love. So you will stop putting blocks for yourself, you will stop putting blocks for others also. It means you're really advancing spiritually. The awakening has happened to a very good extent. And then finally, when 100% awakening happens, which is the enlightenment, becoming one with the infinite consciousness, which is what he's straight away talking about. That self-controlled person is fully awake, Jagra, that he has reached the Turiya Avastha. That which is not known to others is known to that person, which is the infinite. And again, when we are using the word known, but it is not intellectual knowing, it is a direct experience. So in that which is night for all beings, the self-controlled one is awake, Jagra. It's a beautiful sadhana. So how do you practice this sadhana? I told you, as the awakening happens, these are the changes which you will experience at the various levels of your personality. So now you start examining the various levels of your personality, whether you are at the physical level, are you being superficial or are you having more depth? At the pranic level, are you increasing your pran shakti, the cosmic energy, or are you depleting the pran shakti? Where in the pran tattva level 1, which we'll be having this year end, you will get the complete wisdom of what this pran shakti is and how to tap that, or the various techniques, the yogic techniques, all that I'll be teaching you. So your awakening will become more. Similarly, at the emotional level, find out whether you're just going by superficial emotions or are you having the depth. Similarly, at the intellectual level, is your thinking deep, and at the same time are you open-minded, open to new suggestions? Or is your thinking very, very shallow and you're close-minded? It's a beautiful sadhana for you to find out. The moment you start finding out, the process of awakening will be triggered. The Yoga Sankirtan sadhana, the higher Guru Shakti will help you to increase that awakening aspect. And then from a spiritual level, the state of Turiya, you cannot start with that. But first, how much are you body conscious? As you do your sadhana, just examine the fear of death. Is it there? The fear of losing others, is it there? If that fear is there, means to that extent your consciousness is conditioned by the material equipments. There is nothing right or wrong about it. We are just examining things in a neutral way. And the more aware you become of all this, the sadhana which you're doing will generate that energy. The higher Guru Shakti will start flowing. The Master will be able to give that healing Shakti which you will receive, and slowly the awakening will happen at all levels of your personality. And this process of awakening will go on till you become 100% awakened, a free person. Moksha means freedom. Nirvana means freedom. One of the Yoga Sankirti is Nirvana Shatkam, no? It's called Nirvana Shatkam. Why? Because those are 6 verses of liberation, freedom, 100% freedom. When you are conditioned by the finite equipments, to the extent you are conditioned, to that extent your freedom is limited. You are bound. As you become unconditioned through this process of awakening, your freedom will increase. Your inner powers also will start increasing. And you should not stop your sadhana. You should go on and on and on and on till you reach the infinite, till your powers become infinite. That is the goal. That is the purpose of your existence. Okay, so today we'll stop with this. In the coming weeks, we'll go into more depth of the remaining portions of this verse. So before we have the meditation, I will take up 1 or 2 questions which have come. This question has been put in the YouTube section. Hari Om Yogishri, thank you for today's session and the powerful meditation. My question is with respect to identifying the center. For a couple of days I have been probing on my center of action, and I identified that I seek validation and praise from others for my actions. I feel that I look out for praise in all the work that I do. All my actions get recognized, be it at my place of work or amongst my family members. But on probing more, I identified that even if it is for the validation of others, I am not putting in my 100% in those actions. I get lazy while I act. So, do we have different centers in different aspects, and can tamas be one center, and how do I fix this? Thank you, Yogishri, for all the guidance and for helping us better our lives. This is an interesting question. I have answered this in a different way when I was explaining the centers, but anyway, now that the question has been asked directly, I'll explain. Can there be more than one center? Answer is yes. See, in different areas of your life, you may have different centers. It is not that you will only have one center for your whole life. Actually, you are supposed to have only one center, and that center should be God. That center should be the infinite. But in practicality, you will find that you have so many centers outside yourself, and those centers will keep varying in different proportions. So as you're given two examples. One center is where you're looking for recognition from others. Yes, that can be a center. At the same time, laziness, tamas, you don't want to put in effort. That is, without achievement, you want recognition. Without efforts, you want recognition. That is another center. So all these centers put together is what you are. Sometimes this will manifest, sometimes that will manifest. Among those centers, one particular thing may be more prominent. So the first step is identifying these centers. So you've done wonderful work, sadhana, by identifying that yes, this is my center. Now your specific question is, if my center is tamas or laziness, how do I fix this? It's a good question. Whenever you are tamasic, what should you do? You should stop asking, how do I overcome tamas? And you should just jump into action. See, tamas is the opposite of putting in effort. So when you start analyzing, when you say, now how do I overcome laziness? How do I overcome tamas? That the tamas will force you to go on analyzing, go on asking these kinds of questions, which will again prevent you from putting in effort. So the antidote to tamas is to stop analyzing and all that and just jump into action, jump into the waters. Then we'll see how to swim. So by sitting and asking, now how do I overcome laziness, you will only become more lazy. I had given a similar answer to another question which was asked earlier also. It's a similar question, how do I overcome Tamasanali? Not by asking questions or not by analyzing further, but by straight away injecting rajas, which is action. After you get into action, then you can analyze how to perfect the action, how to act without stress and all that. But if you don't, without getting into action, if you're just sitting and analyzing, you will go deeper and deeper into tamas. So the antidote to tamas is immediate action, immediate effort. Don't analyze. Some people say, sir, you said that when you're giving, you should not give with ego. Now I observe that I have a lot of ego. So first I will overcome ego, then I will start giving. You will never give. See, your desire not to give is coming out in that form, in this kind of analysis. First start giving, even if you are giving with ego, then you can slowly refine it. Only if you start acting can you can work on your negativities and transform yourself. So remember this is a message for all the other sadhaks also. Whenever you see any area of tamas in your life, now don't keep analyzing that, don't keep asking, how do I overcome this tamas, how do I keep laziness? Deep within you, you know the opposite of tamas is effort. So start putting in effort, force yourself to get into action. Once you start acting, it doesn't matter whether your action is perfect or imperfect. Thereafter, as you are performing the activity, you can see what are the imperfections and how to perfect your action. This is very important, because most people, they don't handle the tamas in the spiritual path because they go on analyzing. See, if you're another example is, if you are hesitating to express yourself, if you have that is nothing but tamas manifesting at that level, Now if you keep asking, how do I remove the hesitation, how do I express myself, endlessly you will be asking this. So to such people, I would say first start expressing yourself. Whether it is right or wrong, it does not matter. Overcome that hesitation forcefully, and then we can see how to refine the expressions. So from tamas you move to rajas, and from rajas you move to sattva. You cannot jump from tamas to sattva straight away. This is a mistake which many sadhaks make in the spiritual path. So in spite of their best efforts, they are unable to overcome their base weaknesses, root weaknesses, because they try to move from tamas to sattva straight away. So tamas, rajas, sattva, that is the hierarchy. Wherever you are rajasic, you can infuse sattva. But where you are tamasic, if you try to infuse sattva, you will become more tamasic. The reason why I took up this question today was because this will be extremely useful for all the sadhaks, especially when we are using the yogic approach and gaining the wisdom from verses like this verse, and even the next verse, next few verses are going to be very powerful. These verses actually literally uplift your consciousness. The energy levels are very high. So there is a chance that you may slip into tamas. That is why I last week also I gave that word of caution. Last to last week also I said the same thing. Don't lose sight of practicality. Okay, this is very important. So other questions we'll see in the coming weeks. Now we'll do the meditation. We will do this meditation of triggering the awakening process. The Nididhyasana meditation we'll do. Just a small introduction, because these small meditations which are being done, you're doing it under the guidance of the Guru. So you will get the deep experience. All these will be preparing you for the empowerment programs whenever we have, whether it is Yoga Sankirtan empowerment or whether it is other empowerments which we do. It is these sessions which are actually preparing you. The aim of these sessions is to prepare you for higher experiences. Okay? So sit straight, your spinal cord erect. So when you're erect, you'll keep your shoulders like this. So relax your shoulders, place your palms on your thighs in a relaxed way. Relaxed alertness. That is the key in meditation. Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. Breathe in a very, very relaxed way. Get into a state of relaxed alertness. The purpose of my life is to become awakened, at the physical level. I am aware of the consequences of my perceptions, of my actions and speech. From this moment onwards, I choose those perceptions, actions, and speech which will generate a lot of positive energy within me. I choose to fill myself with a lot of Pran Shakti, the cosmic life force energy. I choose to purify myself at the deeper level of my emotions and thoughts. I am the Jivatma, the individual soul who is residing in this body. I have come here to experience various things. The goal of my journey is to experience the fourth state of consciousness, the Turiya Avastha. Offer your gratitude to God Supreme. Offer your gratitude to your Guru and all the holy masters. Slowly come back. Wriggle your fingers, your toes, rub your palms together to create a warmth. Cup your eyes with your palms. Gently rub your eyes, cheeks, forehead, top of the head, back of the head and neck. Slowly open your eyes. Welcome back. So today we had this Nididhyasana meditation on the process of awakening. This is only a start. This is the tip of the iceberg, There is so much more to it. I'm preparing all of you week after week so that you can gain the inner strength to be able to bear the force of the higher energy when it is awakened fully. That is why the empowerment programs are there to help you, to assist you by transferring the higher Shakti so that you would be able to receive the force of the higher awakening. So this December we are going to have this Prana Tattva level 1. This is the wisdom of the cosmic life force energy. We are going to start on 29th of November, and it's going to be a 22-day program, like what similar to us on similar lines of last year. So it will start on 29th of November and go up to 22nd of December. That will be 21 days, and then a small gap will be given for you to send your questions, and we will have one session dedicated for clarifying all your doubts, and also have a final healing meditation to balance all the energies. So it's going to be a very intense program where the next door will be opened for you. We saw the Kaya Tattva, where we went up to the intracellular level, the meditations and the various practices. Also, I'm sure you would be doing that. Kaya Tattva, the Ancient Secrets of Health, is anyway available online. It was kept available this year, so that in case some newcomer who has come, you have missed it, you can always do it. Even others, those who want to revise, those who want to go through it again and again and enhance your inner powers, can do that. Now this year in Prana Tattva level 1, we'd be going to more depth, that is the pranic body, the first level of the pranic body, called the Prana Vayu Sharira. So how to balance the energies there, how to tap the pranic force, and how to increase the pran shakti within you. This will completely, it's not merely in terms of health alone, not restricted to that, but it will start changing your aura completely. So that is what we are going to do, November 29th to December 22nd. You can make a note of it. I think the details are now available online, so you can plan your activities accordingly. But I require a lot of commitment from you, because the more committed you are, only then you will be able to receive the blast of energy which is going to be invoked. Okay. So you can go through the details. It's available in the website. You can go through the details, and if you have any doubts, you can always ask. I'm here to clarify. But what is important is, right from now onwards itself, you should start doing your sadhana with a lot of bhavana. And don't look for any technique, this technique, then just try to get into the energy flow. Even when you're attending these Sunday sessions, even when you're doing your Yoga Sankirtan Sadhana, whatever it is, just like a child, go with the flow of the energy set by the Master. That will be very useful for you in terms of getting prepared for this higher sadhana, higher empowerment course. Okay, the rest I will explain as we go along in the coming weeks. Okay, so thank you very much. We'll meet next week. Hari Om.